Hello everybody and welcome back to the Halo Chronicle. Today's video is episode 2 in my New Blood series. Last time, we covered several stories about Buck. The first would be his present-day mission to a planet called Talitza to rescue Virgil and its handler Sadie and Disha from URF rebels. Buck and his squad called Alpha 9 would land on the planet and make their way to the URF base. Buck's squad comprised of Mickey, Romeo, and himself. After scoping out the area for several hours, Buck would spot Virgil, confirming that the former Covenant engineer was indeed present in the base. When Buck tried to get up from the dirt, he was pushed back down with force. A gun was pressed to the back of his head. Through conversations with his team, Buck would learn that somebody had betrayed him. Buck would then flash back to many earlier parts of his life. The first would be his departure from his homeworld Draco III and enlistment into the UNSC. When the Human Covenant War broke out, Buck chose to enlist as soon as he could. He would then be put in a cryosleep and sent across the galaxy on many deployments. During one of these deployments, the Covenant would find Draco III. The Covenant glassed half of Buck's homeworld and sent teams down to the surface to commit unspeakable acts on the remaining survivors. Jackals and grunts would hunt down, kill, and eat any remaining humans on Draco III. The UNSC responded by sending a Spartan fire team to take back the planet. Their mission was successful, but it was too late for Buck's family. They would all die during the Covenant's attack. A distraught Buck would enlist and join the UNSC's elite fighting force called the Orbital Drop Shock Troopers, or ODSTs. His incredible service record and born leadership would allow him to rise high. He would be promoted to Gunnery Sergeant and be put in charge of his own squad called Alpha 9, but it wasn't all sunshine and daisies for Buck. He would still carry a lot of baggage from the loss of his family. This would make him take unnecessary risks and behave recklessly. His commanding officers would take note and force Buck to take a shore leave so that he could decompress and grieve. Buck would choose to spend his shore leave at a resort called Castellaneta in the Sol system. There he would meet a woman who would change his life forever. Her name was Veronica Dare. Veronica and Buck fell for each other immediately and spent every waking moment of their shore leave together. Buck would later call it the best week of his life, but it came to a crashing end. Buck would find out that Veronica was not a soldier as he had been led to believe. Veronica was actually a member of the Office of Naval Intelligence. She was also sent to the resort to study Buck to see if Oni could use him for future operations. This caused Buck to believe that Veronica didn't actually like him and was pretending to for her job, despite her protesting that that was not the case. The two would split off and wouldn't see each other until about a year later. Buck's Alpha 9 team was seconded to Oni for a very important mission on a planet called Sargasso. The Oni agent in charge of the operation would be Veronica Dare. The operation's purpose would be to retrieve important research data from a facility called Lethbridge Industrial. Buck's team would be dropped near the facility and sent in to recover the data, while another ODST squad called Gamma 6 would be dropped nearby and be used to distract the nearby Covenant forces. Buck and Veronica clashed over one major point in this mission. Gamma 6 would have no knowledge of Alpha 9's presence. They wouldn't know that their mission was essentially a suicide mission, but Buck would begrudgingly agree to Veronica's plan. To Veronica's credit, the plan worked brilliantly. Buck's team was able to enter the facility and retrieve the data with ease. While en route to their extraction point, Buck checked Gamma 6's comm channel and found out that they were in a very tight spot. Their commander was dead and the squad was dropping like flies. Against Veronica's orders, Buck ordered Alpha 9 to move to Gamma 6's location to provide assistance. By the time they reached Gamma 6, only one trooper remained alive. Her name was Sarah Palmer. Together, Alpha 9 and Palmer were able to clear out the area of all the nearby Covenant forces. They gathered up the dead members of Gamma 6 and made their way to the extraction point. Veronica was extremely upset with Buck and believed that their personal issues caused Buck to disregard her orders. Buck stated that he disregarded her orders because it was the right thing to do, and if she had a problem with it, she could take it up with his real bosses. Even after all of that, Veronica would once again commandeer Buck's crew for a mission in New Mombasa. Veronica would join Alpha 9 for a mission that would take them to the mean streets of New Mombasa during the Covenant's invasion of Earth. The team thought that they would be boarding a Covenant carrier and attempting to capture the Prophet of Regret, but Veronica changed their landing coordinates at the last minute to New Mombasa's surface. To add to the chaos, the Covenant carrier would jump into slipspace during their descent and send a shockwave across all airspace. This would cause Alpha 9 to be scattered across New Mombasa. Buck would try to rendezvous with Dare in New Mombasa, but she would be taken below the city's surface by a group of Covenant engineers before he could reach her. To make matters worse, she didn't convey what the mission entailed. This would force Buck to abandon her mission and focus on regrouping with his squad mates. He would regroup with Romeo, Dutch, and Mickey on top of New Mombasa's police department building. They would be attacked by several squads of brutes, resulting in Romeo receiving a life-threatening injury. Buck and his team would then find and commandeer a Covenant Phantom. Despite not finding Veronica or their newest teammate, the Rookie, they would use the Phantom to try to escape the city that at this point was now filled with Covenant forces. The Rookie would awaken alone in the city and be forced to search for clues about what happened to his squad. While doing so, he would receive a distress signal from Veronica. He would follow her call and go beneath the city. They would rendezvous in New Mombasa's data center, where Veronica would reveal the new purpose of their mission. They needed to protect a Covenant engineer named Virgil and get it back to Oni. During their escape, Buck would appear to assist. When Buck and his crew attempted to flee New Mombasa, Buck would finally realize where Veronica had likely gone. He ordered his men to turn around and return to the city. He would go in alone and have his team wait with the stolen Phantom at the nearby waterfront highway. Buck, the Rookie, Veronica, and Virgil would make it to the surface. They would use a garbage truck to transport Virgil to the Uplift Nature Reserve Museum, where they would hold off Covenant forces until the rest of Alpha 9 could arrive. They would then make their escape in the stolen Phantom. Veronica and Buck would patch things up. Veronica would tell Buck that when humanity finally wins this war, they would talk about their future together. A few short weeks after this mission, humanity defeated the Covenant forces on the Ark, and the war would finally come to an end. This was partially due to the help Virgil provided humanity late in the war. That completes the recap of the last episode. Let's jump into today's chapter of this story. After the dust settled following the Human-Covenant War, Veronica and Buck decided to take some well-earned shore leave together. Even though the war was finally over, there were too many loose threads hanging around for Buck and Veronica to quit and start their life together. They agreed to start dating, but they would continue their work for the UNSC. During their shore leave, they would have a most unexpected visitor. They would be laying in bed when someone would begin to knock on their door. They initially would ignore the knocking, but later it would turn to pounding. It got to the point where Veronica and Buck thought their guest was going to bust down the door. Veronica moved to answer the door with a pistol drawn. She would open the door and find a very large figure waiting for her there. He identified himself as June. June stated that he was there to discuss something of significant importance with Buck. He would ask for a moment alone to talk with Buck. This surprised Veronica, as there was rarely information she would not be privy to as an Oni officer. Veronica would excuse herself and leave even though Buck protested. June wasted no time in revealing the purpose of his visit. June stated that due to the overwhelming successes of the Spartan II and Spartan III programs, there was a push in the UNSC to revitalize the Spartan program. This effort would be headed up by an ex-Spartan II candidate named Commander Musa and June himself. This program would be called the Spartan IV program. Unlike previous iterations of the Spartan programs, this new program would take adult heroes from the Human Covenant War and use them as candidates. Through medical advancements in technology, Oni could now turn any human into a super soldier with minimal risks. June was in charge of the Spartan IV recruiting drive and was responsible for identifying and selecting candidates for the program. He would then offer Buck a chance to join the Spartan IVs. Buck had seen the Spartans in action during the war, and the thought of joining them intrigued him. Buck asked if the rest of his squad would be offered a spot in the program. June stated due to their limited funding, they would only be extending this offer to him at the time. Buck and his squad had become a well-oiled machine in recent months. The thought of abandoning them was something that he was not willing to do. With that, Buck reluctantly declined his invitation to join the Spartan IVs. This answer surprised June, but after a moment, he understood Buck's decision and accepted it. Buck asked June how many people turned him down. June laughed at the question. Buck was the only candidate to turn down the Spartan IV program during its initial recruiting run. With that, June departed. Buck would immediately tell Veronica about June's offer. She would spend the rest of their shore leave trying to convince him to change his mind, but Buck refused. Following their leave, Buck would return to active duty as the ODST squad leader of Alpha 9. Sometime after June's visit, Buck and his team would be assigned to a mission on Buck's home planet, Draco III. After the fall of the Covenant, the United Rebel Front would re-emerge and take control of Draco III. Buck and his team would be sent to the planet to take it back. To do this, they would need to defeat the URF leader, Captain Ingridson, and her forces. Buck was not told this at the beginning of the mission, but his squad would not be going in alone. A Spartan squad led by Sarah Palmer would be sent to provide Buck's team with backup. Alpha 9 would push Captain Ingridson and her forces to Draco III's legislative building. Ingridson would group up her forces on Draco III's presidential podium in the legislative chamber, which came with its own protective shield. Buck and Romeo would push her from the gallery downstairs. Buck would send two squads up back staircases in the building in order to flank the enemy forces. One squad comprised of Dutch and Mickey. The other would be the Rookie. Ingridson and her forces would force Buck and Romeo into cover with gunfire overhead. With shields protecting them, there was little that Buck and Romeo could do from the gallery below. During his ascent to the presidential podium, the Rookie was captured, shot, and beaten by the URF forces. He was then brought to the presidential podium where Ingridson would press her pistol against his temple. The URF captain ordered Buck to have his men stand down or she would shoot the Rookie. Just then, Buck would hear an unexpected voice over his comm. The voice identified herself as Spartan Sarah Palmer and advised that her team was ready to assist at any time. Buck advised Palmer to wait as the mission had just gone delicate. Mickey and Dutch had reached the top of the staircase, but Buck advised them to hold until he gave a signal. Buck removed his helmet to speak more freely with Ingridson. Ingridson would call Buck and the UNSC fascists. She said that the UNSC abandoned Draco III when it needed them the most and left them to face the Covenant alone. She said that they knew nothing about the struggles this planet went through to recover and the hardship the planet's inhabitants faced. It was then that Buck would level the hammer. He revealed that he was born and raised on Draco III. He knew all about the planet's struggles and hardship. He lost his entire family when the Covenant invaded. He then asked Ingridson where she was when the Covenant came. He asked her why she didn't do anything to stop them. He asked why she didn't save his sister and her kids when the Covenant forces hunted, killed, and ate them. An enraged Ingridson turned her pistol towards Buck and opened fire. Buck screamed into his helmet, "Now! We need backup now!" Dutch and Mickey burst through the door behind Ingridson with their shotguns drawn. Ingridson turned to face them, leveled her pistol to the rookie's head, and fired. An enraged Mickey unloaded his shotgun into Ingridson's chest. Her guards immediately surrendered, and the battle was over. The rookie was killed instantly from Ingridson's blast. Palmer's team burst through the chamber doors to catch the tail end of the battle. After the rookie's death, Alpha 9 would gather for a burial detail. They would decide to give the rookie a burial at sea on Draco III. They would take a pelican and search for a spot to send their friend to his final resting place. After they found the right spot, they would all take turns saying goodbye to the rookie and drop his casket into an ocean. The journey back to the mainland would be disastrous. Taylor Miles, aka Dutch, would announce to the group that this was his last mission and that he would be retiring from the UNSC. Dutch wanted to spend more time at home with his wife and was tired of these painful missions. This angered Romeo, as Dutch was his best friend and wingman, but after some time, Romeo accepted Dutch's decision. Romeo has a very antagonistic personality. He often says things that irritates his squad mates. Buck has even had to give Romeo direct orders to shut up on multiple occasions. Romeo would unleash a backhanded comment aimed at Mickey. Romeo said that if Mickey hadn't froze when he got to Ingridson, the rookie would still be alive and Dutch wouldn't be retiring. Following that comment, blood spread throughout the Pelican's cabin. Mickey lunged and struck Romeo in the face with a right-handed jab and pinned him up against the Pelican's wall. It took several minutes for Buck and Dutch to break up the fight. Buck ordered the men to knock it off and stated that this was no way to honor the rookie. They would all remain in silence until reaching the mainland. Before Alpha 9 departed the Pelican, Buck did a head count to see who would be staying in the squad. Despite the fight, both Mickey and Romeo advised that they would remain in Alpha 9. Following the rookie's burial detail, Buck would break off from his squad mates. He would rent a car and travel through what was left of Draco III. Buck would try to go to his old neighborhood, but he would find that the area encompassing it was glassed. He then made his way to the docks and found an old dive bar he used to frequent. The bar was still intact and operational. He went into the bar to reminisce. After several rounds at the bar, Buck would again be visited by June. They would drink a toast to the rookie. Buck would then tell June that he wasn't interested. June responded by saying that you haven't heard my proposal yet. Buck sighed explosively and said, "Lay it on me." June had stated since their last talk, the Spartan IV program had been deemed a smashing success. This resulted in the Spartan IV program being broken off into its own military branch with enhanced funding. June stated with this enhanced funding, they now had places for every member of Alpha 9. Buck then asked about Dutch and the rookie. June replied by stating that they knew Dutch was going to retire, but if he weren't, they would have a spot for him too. June also stated that they would have had a spot for the rookie if he were still alive. Buck asked June to do one more toast. They drank and June asked him if that was a yes. Buck responded with, "It's a maybe." June laughed and said, "Well, that's better than last time." Buck stated that if he was going to do this, he would need to get one more person's permission. This will complete today's chapter of this story, but before I leave you, let's talk about some interesting bits of lore tied to today's video. Sarah Palmer was one of the first candidates confirmed for the Spartan IV program. She would be a member of the first class of Spartan IVs and would be promoted to the commanding officer of the Spartans shortly after. June would use several artificial intelligences to help him determine who should be considered for the Spartan IV program. The first class would contain 145 Spartans. due to the tremendous successes of that class, Commander Musa was able to secure more funding for a second class. This class would be considerably larger and would include a much wider candidate base. This class would incorporate all active members of Alpha 9. Mickey took the rookie's death the hardest out of any other member in Alpha 9. Mickey and the rookie were both from the human colony on the moon called Luna. They spent time together outside of their military duty. They even got matching necklaces with Luna inscriptions on them. Mickey believed that the rookie's death was his fault, and he felt a tremendous amount of guilt for his passing. Next time, we will discuss Buck's meeting with Veronica, his induction into the Spartan IV program, and a secret mission he would be assigned during his Spartan training. I'm very sorry this video took a little longer than I had planned to get out. As I said in my last post, I recently had a death in my family. I appreciate your patience and support during this time, and things are going to get back to normal very soon. The next installment in this series will debut on April 23rd. If you have enjoyed today's video, please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for future content. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you next time.